everybody. Welcome to episode number 36 of the KFO show, Kayak Fishing Obsessed. If you love kayak fishing, guys and girls, no better place to be on the planet right now than right here. Right now, I got Chad Hoover on tonight. We're going to be talking about kayak fishing etiquette. But before we get there, I got some news and announcements for you. If you're listening in from the podcast, we're pushing 750 listens an episode right now. And so if you're out there, I would love to hear from you. Reach out to me via Instagram or YouTube. Let me know you're out there because there's not a really great way to hear from you. So please, 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 please let me know. All right, guys, we have the Cast Crate giveaway going on again tonight. So if you become a YouTube channel member, not only will you get a variety of perks and badges and custom emojis and behind the scenes analytics and early access to videos, I'm also going to give you a $10 gift card to Cast Crate. I think the lowest monthly membership is like $2 a month. So these are like my inner circle of people. I write almost like 2, 3, 4 times a week to them. And yeah, they're pretty awesome. So I'd love for you to be a part of that as well. Guys, I just finished up my 3rd month for the Knucklehead Kayak Bass Fishing Series. So let's take a look real fast over here on fishingchaos.com. All right, give me a second here. I'm going to look up, see who got the top 5. And we have a winner for July. All right, so let me see what we got here. All right, guys, here it is. So Tammy Sanchez, who is already on the team, by the way, she doesn't count, 100.25 inches from New Hampshire. That freaking rocks. I'm coming in second with 97.5 inches. I'm already on the team. So the winner for July is Jacob Tomlin with 90.75 inches. Coming in right behind him is going to be Lost in Tackle, who's on the show tonight, 89 inches, and Troy's Corrales, 83.75 inches. So congratulations to all of you who were a part of that. So that was awesome. I loved it. And I have one more month. So that started today. And I'd love for you to be on Team Wendell, or if you really, really, really want to lose, you can go ahead and join Team Chad Hoover, or Team Gramps. So we're going to be bringing the heat, guys. I got the inside man. So I got a strategy no one knows about. So it's going to be friggin' awesome. All right, moving on. So as everyone may know, and if you don't, if you signed up for last month's tournament, you get put into a drawing for a $100 gift card to castcray.com. And so we're going to head over to the Wheel of Names. And we're going to, if you guys can only see the green room right now, you got this jabroni over here doing all kinds of stuff. Let's go head over to the Wheel of Names. Here we go. And we're going to choose a winner. So everyone names in here. This is completely randomized. Here we go. If you're on the podcast, this thing is spinning around. And the winner of $100 is, don't be me. Okay, we're going to spin again. It landed on me. All right. Let's try that over again. Probably should have removed myself. All right. And the winner is Dwight Bartlett. Congratulations, Dwight. If you're listening in, please reach out to me because it's very difficult for me to kind of know and reach out and find people. So, Dwight, let me know. And congratulations. A $100 gift card is coming your way. All right, guys. Remember, this is an interactive show. So let me welcome to the show the Dink Master himself, Chad Hoover.
Hey, I just wanted to show you something real quick from last night, just so you know. This is
Can't see it. It's so bright.
That's what we're catching right now. So anyway, just a little, little 7-pounder, no big deal. Yeah, man, we our team is set. Myself and Gene are set, so our team's locked. You can't tell people to go join on our losing team anymore because we already got our team set. You've got a month left, so the people that want to win their way in can jump on your team. And got some bad news today from John Cruz. He is going to have to bail because, his mom let him know that his dad's 80th birthday is on the same weekend because it was the only time they could get the venue. And I get it. I mean, that's like a family thing. That's a big milestone. But John's going to still support the team. And what we're going to do is instead of going and trying to find a new captain short notice, we're going to run an extra month for Team Cruise Missile. It's going to convert to Team Missile Baits. He's still going to sponsor the team. Right. And then we're going to run a 5th month for that 5th person. And then that way that team will still make it. Everybody that's won their way on the team will still be on the team. And then Casey Reed just won July, so that team's going to be anchored by an absolute hammer. And they're going to be tough to beat. So we'll run another month, and I think what will end up happening is everybody that didn't win their way in, that's another shot. And then we're going to run a September and October open knucklehead, and the top 5 for each of those months will make new teams. So we'll have 2 wildcard teams from that, and then we're going to run the fan fish off the Friday before. So that'll be the 3rd wildcard team. So be kind of interesting having some wildcard teams in there to mix it up. And yeah, man, it's going to be fun.
That's new. I like the 2 wildcard. I knew about the Friday, but I like the 2. Well, I mean, the more the merrier, really, right?
A bunch of people reached out to me and said, man, I'm tried every month and this, that, and the other. And there's so many hammers and this, that, and the other. And you should run something for all of us that didn't make it. And I was like, well, that's what the fan fish off is for. And they're like, yeah, but I got to drive all the way down there for a chance. And then I don't know. And I'm like, but it's going to be fun. And then they're like, I was like, what about like a fan fish off beforehand online and the winning top 5 make a new team? Bingo. I love it. And then, so we're going to do that. We're going to do that in September and in October.
I like it. So, and you recently added Bearded Dad Fishing. So,
one of my buddies. Bearded Dad stepped up and took the slot from Mr. Clay Guida, who had to add a fight right in our window. And, I don't know that he had much choice because I think he pissed Dana White off at the last UFC thing because he did the act like he was going to retire thing. And so he didn't have a lot of leverage. But yeah, anyway, he's going to shout it out. I'm going to shout out Jay at Bearded Dad. I was actually supposed to talk to Jay today and I got so slammed. And so he and I are going to talk tomorrow and hopefully ratchet up his team. And man, it's going to be fun. The fishing on Gunnersville and Wheeler this year has been the best it's been that I can remember. And I've lost some absolute giants the last 3 or 4 days. Have taken some clients out who've done the like the heartbreak blow ups. So the big fish are there. You just gotta make sure that you do everything right to catch them. And I caught probably 4 over 6 pounds in the last 3 or 4 days. Lots of all of them on top water too, which is fun. No, I take that back. I caught one on a night spinnerbait, which is the Booyah spinnerbait with the big black blade, and then I caught one on a fluke. So yeah.
Nice. Well, RGM coming here. Hey, Team RGM, watch out for the sleepers. Haven't talked too much smack yet. All right, RGM, we're ready, boss. Bring it. Bring it. So, Chad, I haven't talked to you since you came back from ICast. So give us I know you did a bunch of videos on it. I've watched some of those. But for those who maybe didn't have a chance to listen into those, give us your quick thoughts on the show. How was it? Was it what you expected? Was it, awesome or thumbs down or kind of it could have been better?
Well, I did a video that called ICast Didn't Suck, sorta, right? And in that, I touched on this a little bit. Since then, I've actually had a chance to talk to some executive at every major kayak company or kayak manufacturing brand, kayak accessory brand, things like that, to kind of get an idea of hey, what's going on? Are sales down, or is ICast not the market for you? Those kind of things. So historically, since kayak fishing started growing at ICast, it had grown, it had increased every year. And what I mean by that is the footprint and the presence. At its highest, I think we had 29 manufacturers under the kayak fishing search in the ICast app. Okay. This year we were down to 7.
Dang.
In addition to that, one of the things that used to happen is, let's say a lifestyle brand was going to be there and they wanted to get people's attention. They would reach out to a kayak company and say, hey, we'd love to have a kayak in our booth. It gets you some extra exposure. Can you bring an extra kayak? And then blah, blah, blah. And then one kayak company would have their kayak in 4 or 5 other booths. Right. And there was almost none of that this year. Pelican International was there, which is Pelican, Wilderness Systems, Perception. They bought the old Confluence Water Sports. They were there, and they hadn't been there previously. So it's like a big company came in, and we still were pretty underrepresented. Now, that being said, one of the biggest missing pieces that I would say most notable absences would be Hobie. And the reason that I say that is Hobie was the first company that recognized that they should be at ICast And to a certain extent, when I was talking to companies that I was affiliated with, I was like, man, you got to go to ICast. And so the fact that Hobie's not there, you know, created a bunch of intra-show banter. Hey, have you heard that Hobie's not here? And we're like, Hobie Eyewear's here, and they got some Hobies in the booth, but it's not the Hobie booth. And the Hobie booth has always been like the spectacle of the show for kayak fishing. You know, they have the biggest booth, the most kayaks on display. They usually do like a themed out boat. Last couple of years, they've done one with Dugout where he's like maxed one out at like 20 grand or something like that. Wow. And it was just notably absent. So I made a bunch of calls, and without fail, not like some, not most, not almost all, but all said, we didn't have anything new. We didn't have anything new that we couldn't get just as much exposure by spending that same amount of money on social media ads. Okay. Hey, I sent our team to go fishing and get content instead of going to ICast and get content. And then I think the other thing that happens is ICast has changed over the last 4 to 6 years to where anybody with a YouTube channel can get in. And back in the day, it was more professional. And I'm not crapping on small YouTube channels. I think, you know, small YouTube channels are great. I was a small YouTube channel when I started going. But there's a lot of people that aren't professional, and they're going to ICast to shit on products to get clickbait. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And they're doing it in the company's booth. Right. You know what I mean? Like, that would be like if I was going to go in the Power Pro booth and I grabbed a spool of Power Pro line and I did like this, and the thumbnail was worst braided line ever. Right? Question mark. Right. And you're doing it in their booth. So these companies have paid tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then the ASA, the American Sport Fishing Association, who is ICast, has opened up the coffers to a certain extent to let more media in. But the quality of the media and the way that it's being done has kind of frustrated a lot of vendors. I'm not speaking for everybody, so don't run out and tell somebody I said that. I'm just letting you know I'm answering the question that you asked me. And I heard some vendors say, you know, we are frustrated with some of the people that jump into the booth. And then also some of these people are not really professional in that you've got to respect the fact that these people are there to do business. They have booth times scheduled a lot of times, and everybody has calendars. And so I saw like one particular YouTuber who's not as small, not very small, but was very like walked into a booth. Hey, I want to talk to you about your newest product, blah, blah, blah. He'd already done his hype thing out in the aisle, walked in and they're like, yeah, man, that person's in the middle of a meeting right now. And we've got a booth full of dealers that were walking through our product line. And the dude just started grabbing product and was like, well, this is the blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, bro, like there's an etiquette. Well, there's an etiquette to it. There's a place of business. Say, hey, can I come back at another time? Can you tell me who I need to reach out to? And you play the game. But it frustrates people and it's maddening to people when some of these people are running around just doing hypey stuff. And then to a certain extent, some of them are even doing it to where they're going in to shit on the brands that are the brands that compete with the brands that they're sponsored by, which is like the absolute most taboo thing that you can do. And I actually saw one booth owner tell a kid to come here, took a picture of his badge and reported it to ASA. So it's not, I'm not saying that there's not truth in reporting and that you don't want to hear the best and all, but you got to know like the formula. Like if you don't product, go to the new product showcase, get the product there and do your independent review. Don't do it right in the booth, right in front of other media people, right in front of their dealers, right in front, you know, just trying to be. And it sucks that right now, and we're going to talk about this tonight, negative stuff gets the most attention. You know what I mean? We work our asses off on an informative video that teaches you, and it gets 13,000 views, and then you throw a video up that says kayak fishing etiquette. This clown almost run me over. You know, 3/4 of a million. Immediately, and you know, it's like, but it is the world we live in, so it is what it is. But ICast as a whole was very good for me. It was very good for the partners that I have. It was very good as far as the pacing, and because there was a little bit less foot traffic, you could have more meaningful conversations. And then once I spoke to the brands that were absent or missing, it wasn't an indication of the health of kayak fishing. It was an indication of, we feel like we can spend our money better not going to ICast. And it's almost like, to a certain extent, some of the kayak brands have outgrown the benefit that they can get from it. And, that's unfortunate, because ICast is a really big, media opportunity for a lot of us. It's a family reunion for a lot of us. And, it's still a great event. It's still the best in fishing. But it was different, to say the least. So that's my take on it.
No, I appreciate it. I like that. I was watching videos like, how many YouTubers are freaking at ICast right now? My feed was absolutely flooded. People I've heard of, people I haven't heard of. Some were doing it like, okay, that's legit. Others like, I'm kind of scratching your head. I was wondering the same thing. So thanks for shedding a little bit of light on there. If you ever think about going in the future, something to think about. All right. So Elizabeth Z, she said something here. Modern day courtesies have gone by the wayside. What a segue, folks, because I have something tonight. We're going to talk about kayak fishing etiquette, right? And so
Can I say something real quick on that topic, particularly since Elizabeth chimed in?
Yeah.
Also, because her and I had a little disagreement online the other day, where it was a misunderstanding about tone, because it's really hard with written word, right? To know inflection and tone and intent and all that. So the other thing that happens in comment sections is that people automatically assume the worst, right?
Yeah.
And then as soon as somebody responds to you, if it even feels a little bit cross, you're like crack, and then it's on. So
It is
I have got to do a better job of learning to say, hey, ask for clarification. I'm not sure if you meant this or not, but here's what I was thinking. And then have a real, genuine conversation. But we've gone so far into short form content that we write the minimum amount, and then we overreact when we misunderstand what the other person means.
Surprise, right? It usually happens. And so this is interesting. So I asked Chad to be on the show tonight because, one, I know he did a video recently that got a lot of feedback. We're going to watch that one. But also, I posted a reel about a month ago. This reel got 3.2 million views, 7,000 likes, 2,900 comments, and a total watch time equivalent to someone watching it 24 hours a day for 487 days straight. So a lot of it's like a 16-second video.
And that's all that watch time. Yeah, with 16 seconds. That's what's also
16
crazy.
16 seconds, 487 straight days of total eyeballs on this video. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to explain a little bit to you. So what happened? For those on the podcast, I'm going to have to, after the show of the video, I'm going to explain what's happening because I know you can't see it. But I'm out fishing with a buddy, and a kayaker comes in front of me, has a fishing pole, and there is, what you can't see is about 40 yards of open water behind me in the channel. And for whatever reason, I literally thought the guy was a buddy of mine. He was clowning me because it made zero sense to go right in front of me and the 20 yards in front of me that I was fishing on the bank there next to the lily pads. And so what people can't see is they're 40 yards behind me. But what's incredible is we will go through and react to the comments. I did not read. I read maybe 60 or 70 of these before it started going viral, and it just got ludicrous. So I was like, I'm going to bring Chad on. We're going to react to these together, many of which I've never read before. So let's head over here.
What's funny is I actually have two videos. I have the one where the clown cut in front of me, and I have the one where the guy threatened to kill me.
Oh yeah,
in the channel. And the overwhelming funny thing about the he threatened to kill me video is that I say in there, out of respect for the police, I didn't show them on camera, but they took care of it, right? All the comments are, you should have pressed charges. You should have pressed charges. You should have pressed charges. If you Google Polk County Sheriff, you will see the reason I didn't need to press charges, because the Polk County Sheriff himself showed up.
Oh no.
Said, get in the car. And he drove me over to the guy's house, and the guy threatened to whoop my butt. And he said, there he is. No, he threatened me when I was on the water. That's what's in the video.
Yep.
So the Polk County Sheriff, and I'm not supposed to talk about this, but what the hell is enough time has passed now. He puts me in the car and drives me around there, knocks on the door. Hey, is this the guy you said you was going to whoop his butt? I don't think you could tell how big this old boy was when he was out there in that canoe. And I was like, it's a kayak. He's like, whatever. But the Polk County Sheriff, this dude does not care. So he goes, I don't do this very often, but this is Polk County. And so if you want to, he's right there. And I was like, all right.
All right, here we go.
And he said, all right, well, then don't threaten another person. Have that fence down before I come back out here next week. And when somebody's in the water, you keep your mouth shut. Is that clear? And the guy's like, yes, sir. He said, cool. And if you don't like your dogs barking when somebody comes up on the waterfront, keep your dog in the house.
Dang.
And that was it. And I was like, sweet. So, of course, I didn't put any of that in the video. Now, I probably could have because, be honest with you, the Polk County Sheriff kind of likes being on camera, acting like a badass. So just look him up. Just look up Polk County Sheriff. But in this last one, I didn't give enough context in the video. Like you're saying, I didn't talk about. So I did this nifty drawing for tonight's video. So we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
But
we'll get there, I promise.
Same thing. It was like plenty of other places for the person to go. And, but I still could have reacted better. It's been a long week.
All right, I'm going to share my screen here. All right. This is it. A lot of you are going to be like, what in the world am I watching? All right. So it's literally, I posted a question. What would you have done? ? Oh.
All right.
And there it is, folks. Why that got 3.2 million views, 7,000 likes, 2,900 comments, I do not know. But okay, so that's what it was. So with all the people who were responding to the thing, it was absolutely ludicrous. Like I asked the question, and let's go ahead and go through some of the comments here. All right, let me see here. Everyone still see that? Great. All right, comments. Cast one over his bow as a friendly reminder. Okay. Okay. Chad, you casted right next to the guy who went in front of you, right? If I remember correctly.
I skipped the bait up to the boat to show how close he was.
Right.
But I didn't hit him. I didn't cast in front of him. I didn't throw at his motor. I didn't do any of that. I could have skipped a 3/4 ounce jig and cracked his gel plate, gel coat, and we could have ended up fighting and all that other stuff because I could have got out of my kayak and walked over to the guy because he was in like 2 foot of water with his big motor, bloop, 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 trying to go past me.
Right.
But no, I just skipped the bait up like, dude, what do you do? Look how close you are. I'm like backhand casting to you, And up north, anglers fish really close together. The more I travel the country, up north, there's like this social acceptance of being like shoulder to shoulder. Your boat's basically bumping. But down in the south, if you get within a casting distance of somebody, you're asking for it. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't do that.
Yeah.
And there's 60,000 acre lake, and the guys within a casting distance of me, that's
unnecessary.
And I also did it to show that on the GoPro, it's going to look way further than it is. Right. Because the GoPro's wide, just like in your video right there. It's wide angle. It's not to scale. It doesn't show the true closeness of the scenario, But yeah, I skipped the bait at the boat just to let him know. And people are like, what did they say? Something to the effect, like a couple of comments are like, oh, I can't believe you tried to hit that boat. No, let me say for the record. If I had tried to hit it, I would have hit it.
Right.
I'm a sniper with a bait caster. I'm talking about like, bullet hole pattern if I want to. No, if I tried to hit it, I would have hit it. There is no try with a bait caster with your boy here. I would have wanted to hit it. I would have hit it. So
let's read some of these comments. This is number one comment. You kind of hear it in a variety of different ways from, well, you can read it. Sherry, Shannon, Ferguson, whatever. You don't own the river. Don't act like a child. Hold your cast and let the person pass nicely. And then, of course, there's 35 replies here. He was already casted. As you guys saw in the video, I was pulling it in. And then this is always the argument. It's common courtesy. Show some respect for your fellow man or whatever. And it just continues to go on here. And some people are like, what did I just watch? So if you're not a fisherman, you're probably like, what in the world? What in the world am I watching here? But then you got you don't own the water. And you got those who are like, show some courtesy. And why is there always one or the other? Like, I don't like, there's always this tension that always breeds an argument over and over again.
I love that you don't own the water argument, because that one popped up on my video as well.
Right.
But that's like if you're on the road, right, and somebody cuts you off. That would be the same, and you got mad about it. That'd be the same argument as saying, well, you don't own the road, bro. That person can drive wherever they want. Right. No, there's etiquette, there's rules, there's social expectations. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on. And here's the other thing. When I first watched this, I just watched it passively, scrolling through. It was only 16 seconds.
Right.
I watched it, and just being honest with you, the first time I watched it, I didn't see the rod on the other person's boat. And I kind of was a little bit more understanding of it maybe being a wreck paddler who didn't know any better.
Sure.
And was like staying close to the shoreline and paddling by. Morning, Bill. Morning, Tom. But then when I watched it again and I saw the fishing rod, I was like, well, no, you don't get the benefit of the doubt or the pass for not knowing any better. Because if you're a fisherman, you wouldn't want somebody to paddle over your line or where you were casting or where you were about to cast. I don't care who you are. So all the clowns, and that's what you are if you comment you don't own the water. Every clown that says that would be frustrated if you or I paddled in front of them in the manner in which the other person paddled in front of them.
Right.
Or the opposite of it is you're either a clown or you don't catch fish. And you don't care because you're like, oh, well, go ahead and paddle there because, I'm not catching fish anyway. So it's one of two. You can hate me if you want to. Go blow me up. I don't care. If you don't get a little frustrated when somebody paddles where you're casting, there's only two alternatives. One, you're not catching fish and aren't going to catch fish anyway, so you're indifferent. Or two, you're lying. That's the only two real alternatives. If you have worked your butt off to find a fishing spot, you've set up there and you're casting and you're catching fish or expecting to catch fish, and somebody paddles where you're casting, you're going to be mad. You're going to be frustrated.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I get semi-frustrated when someone can walk behind the couch and they walk in front of it when I'm watching a television show.
Yeah.
So it's courtesy to walk behind. And here's the thing. So I get the whole, I can't tell you how many times I've heard you don't own the water, Jen. And I actually disagree fundamentally with where that comes from. Because when someone says, technically we all own the water, right? If you're a taxpayer, we all own it. And you might be thinking like, there's no difference between the two. There actually is. I used to do international development work, and I used to help put in clean water wells over in Africa. And I can't tell you how many times I would travel over to Ethiopia, Uganda, Tanzania, and come up on a water well that's absolutely in disarray, doesn't work anymore. Weeds are flowing up along the sides. And I'd ask, who owns this? And like, every community member, who owns this? I don't know. Someone put it in for us 5 years ago, and when it broke, no one took care of it. And our entire program doing international development was give ownership to the community, and they will take care of it for a lifetime. And so there's a big difference. And you might be saying I'm this, cutting hairs here, but I mean, this is why you go to the fishing spots and you see a bottle floating over here and you see a can of worms over here and you see this floating in the water and someone leaving the trash over here, because if no one owns it, then no one takes care of it and you have no courtesy for anybody else. But if everybody owns it, you take ownership of it and you take care of it and you start thinking about others who may also own it. And so I hear that a lot, and I think it's a problem. And maybe it's just me. I mean, like when I roll by a bottle, like I'll actually paddle over to pick that thing up because I'm like, okay, I'm part owner of this lake. 100%. And if we don't do this, if everyone thinks no one owns it, who cares about it, and just let it go disarray, we will start losing our fishing spots and our fishing access.
So here's another way to look at it too, right? And this is something that I do, and anybody that fishes with me knows I do this. If I'm coming up on another kayak angler or boater, I'll literally yell at them, "Hey man, which way are you fishing? That way I can go around." And they'll go this way. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to pass you on the back. And they're like, yeah, man, thanks. And it's just letting them know. And here's why that's important. Let's just say you're going down a bank and you're maybe leapfrogging each other. Or let's just say you're fishing in a area where there's several community holes. If you make contact with somebody early and say, hey, brother, which way are you fishing? I'm going to go the other way. Or, hey, sis, which way are you fishing? That way I can go around you. you bought yourself that courtesy when they run into you at the next fishing spot.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, they'll reciprocate because you've set the tone. So what's frustrating is when people don't give you that courtesy, but you haven't had a chance to demonstrate it yet. But I think if we demonstrate it to other people, like if I see somebody kind of at an angle going down a shoreline, but I'm trying to go past them, I'll ask them, hey, which way do you guys want me to go? That way I don't mess up your fishing. Oh, man, if you wouldn't mind, go behind the boat. We're fishing over here. Okay, sounds good. Then when they run into me at the next spot, they'll reciprocate. Hey, dude, we're about to fish down this pocket if that's okay. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm about to head over there. Cool. You know, it's just communication. It's courtesy. You know what I mean? And to me, it's just the only human and decent thing to do. But if everybody goes out there with this, you don't own the water MFer mentality, it's just a bunch of Karens like throwing crap at each other.
Yeah.
And that's not enjoyable, you know?
Speaking of Karen, Bucktail Fishing said, I heard a park ranger respond to a Karen going on a rant about fishermen don't own the water one time. And then he follows it up with this. He says, no, ma'am, they don't, but their license fees and volunteer hours do more to keep these places up than you do. Maybe you should thank them instead. Interesting.
I had this discussion with a lady at a public boat ramp in Alabama. She said, oh my God, every time I come here, there's so many kayaks. There should be a limit on how many boats can be parked here. Blah, blah, blah. I said, you do realize this boat ramp was built from money from the general fund, which comes from our fishing license. There is no parking and walking license. So the fact that you get to park here and go walk down the shoreline is a luxury that is afforded to you by fishermen who buy a fishing license. So we should probably limit it to 2 cars that can park here that don't have a boat or a kayak trailer, not the other way around. She did the snort stomp and stomped away. They do the snort stomp and hand straighten thing, you know, where they straighten their hands out. That's the official Karen dance, you know.
Hey, let us know if you're listening in on the live show. We got a bunch of you on tonight. If you ever had an experience like this, let us kind of write it out a little bit and your thoughts on it. Love to hear that. All right, let's head back over to the Facebook real quick. Here's some of these other comments. Like I said, I haven't read these yet. Fang says, this is why bass fishermen are the worst. They all act super hard, sensitive. The worst thing, they don't even eat their fish. What? And if you keep a bass, they will throw a raging fit over it. Let's see the comments
here.
What
does that got to do with this?
I don't even know. Here's what I found on this, Chad, is that people create their own narrative. I can't tell you how many people like attacked me. They're like, oh, you baby, you this, you that, you curse word, you this. I was like, guys, I'm literally the person in the video, right? You know how I responded. So why you coming in hot on me? I just said, hey, let the guy pass, whatever. Could I have said something like, hey, I just want to let you know, not everyone is going to not say something to you. If you roll in front of them in a fishing spot, might be a good idea. There was actually a second kayaker behind him. They were like buddies. And once he realized what his first buddy did, and I think like as he's going in front of me, you notice in the video, he doesn't even look at me at all. I think he realized too late what he was doing. And it wasn't until he was in front of me that he realized, oh crap, I probably should have went behind the dude. And the guy behind me is like, oh yeah, I'm going to go behind you. I was like, all right, cool. And that was kind of the end of it.
Yeah, that's fine. That kind of changes the narrative. But like in my situation, the boat guy, I heard him say, oh, these kayak guys, before he turned out of the channel to cut across a flat that's 2 feet deep and then burrow up the whole flat with his big motor just to cut between us.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's a completely different scenario than I'm in the way, I'm blocking you, I'm acting like I own the water. No. This person went out of their way to ruin and disrupt our fishing simply because they didn't like kayakers out there. And then I later found out that the guy owns a dock, owned the water, and that's a whole different scenario. The people that live on the water feel like they extra own it. No, we actually pay extra money to help keep up the rivers and the lake that you live on. You don't. Like we pay. Our tax dollars help keep your riverfront, waterfront view beautiful. Shh. You should say thanks, not
right. Do you get that a lot when you dock fish? Do you get dock anglers come out and rip you?
I wouldn't say I get it a lot. Here's what I would say, but I've got a really good narrative for kayak anglers and a really good narrative for dock fishermen, and it usually handles both of them. if I see a kayaker coming and I can tell they're going to paddle real close to me, I'll just say, hey, buddy, if you don't mind, I'm actually on some fish right here. So if you'll go behind me, that'd be cool. And they're like, oh, yeah, thanks, man. And everybody's good.
Yeah.
With dock people, when they come out, I greet them with a pleasantry. Hey, beautiful evening, ain't it? And usually their response is going to let me know what their posture is going to be.
Right.
So here's how the two scenarios go. And this is why I have never had to do a video on me arguing with a dock person. Hey, beautiful evening, right? It was till you came up here and ruined my view. All right, so here's how this is going to go. This is my response. Okay, so here's how this is going to go. I am going to enjoy my evening, and I'm going to fish in front of your dock until I decide to leave, and you can enjoy your evening. But the next time you open your mouth is harassment, because I'm out here fishing, and I have protected rights as a sportsman through the Sportsman's Right Act of 1974. So if they go, I say, shut up, I'm talking now. I listen to you. I tried to be nice, but if you open your mouth again, I will dial the sheriff's office. I will give them your address, and I will press charges for you harassing me while in the act of fishing or hunting, which are federally protected. So should you choose to say anything other than something nice like I did, this conversation's over and I'm calling the police. That usually shuts them up if their next threat was to say they're going to call the police, because that happens, I've learned this response over the years, or it turns into a pleasant conversation where they're like, any fish out there? Man, I never catch anything. And I go, you know what's funny? And this is a real good conversation you can have with a dock owner. I'm like, you know what's funny? They're like, what's that? I said, everybody that fishes from a dock tries to cast as far away from the dock as they can. And everybody that fishes near the dock tries to cast as close to it as they can. I said, so I promise you'll catch more fish if you come out and skip it under your own dock, because that's where the shade is and you'll catch more fish. The reason you're not catching any fish is you're casting away from the dock and they're actually right under it. And they're like, oh man, that's good to know. And then you made a friend. And then if you frequent that dock, they'll come out and talk to you. Dude, last Tuesday I came out here and dropped the Cinco straight down and I caught a 3-pounder like you said. And then It's a nice thing. Yeah. But man, I just shut the Karens on the docks down and I literally don't even give them a chance to get started.
Wow. So, it sounds like you dialed that in. You had that well thought through.
Trust me, it's evolved. It hasn't been it's perfected. It used to be like I would say this and then they would say that, and then I would say this and then they would say that, and then it just escalated. Now I just shrunk that conversation down to I know what they're about to say based on their demeanor, so I'm just going to nip it in the bud and end it right here. I am in public water. You happen to have your dock in my public water. I'm not fishing the water around your private dock. Your dock is in my water. Yeah. It's in our water. So you're the one that chose to live on public water. I didn't choose to fish a private dock. So get that square, but again, I don't even go back and forth with that.
Yeah.
I literally say what I just said. Look, I tried to be nice. You're obviously don't want to be nice. If you open your mouth again and you talk to me with that tone, I'm calling the sheriff's department. I'm going to press charges. I'm going to press charges for harassment, and I'm going to make sure that it's documented that you've done it before so that if another angler experiences that, boom. And they usually just.
So shed a little light on what you're referring to, right? The law. And because I've read it before, and many of us may never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's called the Sportsman's Right Act. It's old, but it's still valid, right? And it means that you cannot be harassed. Back when hippies used to protest hunters by walking out through the woods with pots and pans, the government had to get together and say, all right, what do we got to do to protect both of these people? Because the hippie's going to end up getting shot, and then the rednecks are going to go to jail for shooting them. And, so they came up with this compromise. You can protest hunting. You just can't interfere with their right to do it. And now if you walk out through the woods, banging a pot, trying to interfere with a hunter, or if you try to cut fisherman's line, or if you try to do stupid things, then you can be prosecuted. Is the likelihood of them being prosecuted very high? Probably not. But the sheriff visiting their house and explaining to them what they're doing is illegal basically shuts them up.
Yeah.
And then it protects future fishermen from having to deal with them. Look, man, I used to fish saltwater a lot when I lived in Virginia Beach. Yeah. And there was a woman who came out on her dock with a water hose and would spray us down. Now, I was in my 20s back then, and thank God there wasn't social media, and I didn't have a YouTube channel. And I'll be straight up with you. I told the woman, I said, you spray me one more time, I'm going to come up here and choke you to death with that water hose, and they're going to find you full of crabs wrapped up in that water hose. So turn the water hose off. If you ever spray me again, that's what's going to happen. And she screamed. She literally went in her house and boiled a pot of water and came back out and tried to throw boiling water on me. Now, granted, you can only throw boiling water so far. She was a dummy. But I learned a long time ago, arguing with idiots only turns into two idiots arguing. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. So if you're legally trying to take a fish, no one can interfere with that. So,
right. Yeah.
So that was interesting. All right. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I mean, we could go on. If you want to go down a deep, dark rabbit hole where people create their own narratives and want a little entertainment, head over to my Facebook page and read some more of those comments. It's kind of insane. But we're at 45 minutes. And Chad, I want to show your video. We've been referring to it a little bit. So let me go and share my screen here. If you have not yet seen this, even though it has over 100,000 views, I don't know how you haven't seen it yet. But let me go and get this party started. All right, this should go.
Are you seriously just going to drive through where I'm fishing? It's common courtesy to not just, I mean, literally, you're a casting this from me. The channel's over there behind you. He's going to boil the whole flat up while he's that mud coming up. Wow. Oh, I got a dock I got to get to. Got a good mind to go back there to that dock and catch the fish before he gets there. Because I could still get there before him. What's up, guys?
All right. So you did a follow-up video to this.
I did, because I still, even the way I edited it, I still kind of didn't tell the full story. So I did a video saying, look, I probably shouldn't have got so hot. I had been working on putting that pattern together for a week and a half. Me and another buddy both drove an hour to get to that spot. We both waited 2 hours to be at the right time in the right place so that the fish would be up on this flat. Like I did a little drawing so I can show you. So this is where we were, right?
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So there's our two kayaks, right? And there's red point is where we're fishing right here.
Mm-hmm.
The channel is all the way over here. And the channel goes like this and goes like this. Now, this isn't to scale. This is like 200 yards from the tip of that point out to the channel. And this channel is about 50 yards over here. So this clown turns and comes off of the channel down through the middle of the two of us. And it would be one thing if we were 100 yards apart. We were conversationally talking. So we might have been a half a cast apart. So he's on plane and turns, and the video starts right when he comes off plane and turns into the flat.
I saw that he slowed down.
Maneuver. He's in the channel running.
Right.
All he had to do is stay that direction, come around up here, and come down the channel to go to his house. But instead, he didn't like us fishing that point. So he turned and came. He's closer to Joe than he is to me in the video, but my GoPro's not catching it.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, literally 15 feet past, you can see the mud start to boil up in the video. Then he's like, whoa, whoa, and spraying a rooster tail out and just dug the whole flat up with this really pristine eelgrass and hydrilla and milfoil all together. And then you could tell he was kind of embarrassed because of the fact that he tried to cut us off and didn't realize that, like, it's a super, so this point comes out like this, and then it extends out under the water like as a real shallow bar right there. And he drove right over the top of that bar where we were up on the bar.
Right.
And it's like, it's one thing if I was sitting in the channel or even on the channel edge and the person came by, but this clown literally turned a quarter of a mile out of the way to go through us and kept angling his boat to line up with going between us, because Joe and I were kind of moving like this. And then, you know, when he got close, I was like, are you seriously just going to drive? And I just did the little, you know, the little flip cast, which landed like that far from his boat, just to show him how close he was. And the dude driving goes, I got a dock to get to. Okay. What's that got to do with anything? Yeah, so I released a video, and then I got the same thing. I got a lot of people like, dude, I would have bounced a jig. I would have done this. I obviously didn't release the video to get people fired up. I released a video to say, don't just take it. Say something. People don't know that it's not appropriate if you don't say something, right? And I think that we've gotten to the point in society where people don't get punched in the face enough. Like we just have gotten so vanilla. Like there's no fear of crapping on other people anymore for whatever reason. And I'm not saying go out there and get in fist fights and do all this other stuff. All I'm saying is that's what it's come to because of that fact, right? Like we've gotten real freaking sanitized and vanilla in this world. And I think the good old fashioned threat of an ass whooping used to keep people from doing dumb stuff on the scale that they do it now. Or maybe we just have more idiots with access to the world, or maybe social media just makes it feel that way. But, you know, there's just a whole lot of tough guys now that, you know, hide behind the power of a lifted truck or the 200 horsepower motor. You know, like that 200 horsepower motor ain't going to help you when my fat ass climbs over that rail in the boat with you. You know what I mean?
Now, here's a question for you. Now, obviously, in your scenario, you heard him, right? He came over on purpose, right?
Yeah, I heard him say it.
You heard him say it. I think in my scenario, I honestly think the guy realized too late.
So let me answer
you know?
As a viewer of your video.
Yeah,
what would you have done? I would have literally said something. Now, I would have said something 50, 60 yards out. Hey, buddy, I'm fishing right here. So if you wouldn't mind, and then they'll go, oh, my bad. Or if I did wait and it got to the point where they were already too far gone to return, I would have probably said something like, hey, look, man, I know you probably didn't know any better, but it's probably not a good idea to paddle between a fisherman and where they're fishing in the future. And they probably would have said, oh, sorry, man. And they would have learned, you know, that. So that would have been my answer to the question you put on what would you have done? That's what I would have done. I would have said something earlier, and then I would have probably said something when they got out in front of me.
This is why I like to have you on the show, Chad, because you got like 10 years of experience to rehearse the things you say, right? For me, this is like maybe the first time a kayaker is coming from me. I've had boats do it a million times. I feel okay, a million times is over exaggerating, but literally this past week it happened again. Within casting distance, I could hit their boat and just kind of run in front of me and move along down the line. And I just find myself sitting there thinking, like, did they do it on purpose? Did they not see me? You know, I start asking myself questions like that because they're acting in a way like they didn't even see me, and it could potentially be that way. But I guess it really doesn't matter because you should get their attention. If they can't see you, they should know you're there. If they're acting like they can't see you,
I think you remove the question of whether or not they knew better by asking them.
Yeah,
and you also educate them on, hey, look, that's probably not a good idea, man. You know, as kayak fishermen, we don't do that to each other. You know.
Yeah.
But I say stuff to boats, you know, that's why I don't ledge fish anymore. I used to get out there and ledge fish with the kayak as if like I'm showing them I can ledge fish too. Now I just go to the flats and the skinny water where they can't get
right
for the whole time the ledge bite is going on. Fish on a ledge are safe for me now because except for at night, because I just don't want to go out there and fight them. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you know, it's the next wave is this probably isn't the right answer either, but you know those air horns?
Oh yeah, I have one in my kayak.
I have one of those as like an emergency thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I found myself over the last 2.5 months before I just said screw the regular water and started going back into the slop where I'm catching these donkeys that I just showed you.
Yeah.
I have one of those air horns, and here's why I have it. And this is not me crapping on forward-facing sonar because I am not a fan of forward-facing sonar. I think it has its place, but there's so many clowns out there right now that are not watching where they're going that they literally, it's not their fault. They're literally not watching where they're going. So I got the air horn and set it in the Yak Attack cup between my legs. And I downloaded some of the footage and was going to show it, but then I was like, no, I'm not, because it's just going to turn into one of these fight videos. But I had a guy coming down the shoreline, and I just did the whole, like, you know, didn't get his attention. He's got the wind in his ears. He's like, and I don't know what you're doing on forward-facing sonar if you're running down a grass line and your motor's on high and your head's down. I don't know what form of forward-facing sonar you're using, because that's not the application that I would use it for. But whatever, to each his own. So yeah, I've had 2 or 3 people that have come right past me. So I went and got the air horn and had it in the boat, like a little cheap one that you can pump back up, so it's not like $7 to run it out of air, you know. And the reactions that I've gotten from some of the guys that are head down on live scope, and I hit that, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
Fall out of the chair.
Oh my god, it's like worth its weight in gold. Yeah.
Do they get pissed? Or are they like embarrassed?
1 out of 4 did. You know what I mean?
You've done it multiple times.
Oh yeah. Oh, I did it like 6 times in a day, man. Because it's like I'm sitting here, I've dropped my anchor wizard, I'm fishing this grass line, I'm worming it, I'm not moving like you are.
Right.
Because, dude, the water temperature's 91 degrees. You're gonna have to slow down to catch these fish if you want to catch them. You know, unless you get back in some shade, like duckweed or lily pads or something like that, you're not catching fish. You know what I mean? Burning a chatterbait or burning anything. You need to slow down. So if you're running that fast, you're really not catching any fish anyway. So I'm not, but they're just not paying attention to where they're going and damn near run you over. So yeah, I went and got an air horn. I got 4 or 5 of them in one day and then 2 another day. So, and I just was like, you know what?
I can see the compilation video already.
Y'all can, I'm not going to do it. I deleted it just so that I wouldn't even be tempted to put it out there. It would have gone viral, probably.
It would have. I'm laughing at it already. I can almost see it taking place in my mind. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, one guy did that, and he about threw his rod out the boat. He's like, "That's the one that got mad." I'll tell you what. If I'd have thrown that rod out the boat, your ass would have been swimming for it. And I was like, okay.
All right, let's head over to the comments real fast because I asked the question if they had some stories for us. So here we go. Let me see. Well, Jason Fletcher, in the context for conversation, entitlement was placed courtesy in most cases. I hear you. Losing big fish. I called out another angler for throwing trash in the lake. So he called the ranger on me and said I was illegally poaching. He did not know that I knew the ranger. He got checked instead of me. Moral of the story, be friends with your local DNR agent. All right. Kyle Cutright. You know, I'm clicking these and putting them on the screen before I've read them, but that's just what I got to do. He said, I'm new to this, and just about every time I've gone to the local rivers to fish, I end up dealing with angry people from the banks, mainly setting up on the kayak launch and getting mad that I'm there. Interesting. Chad, you ever have that happen? You roll into a kayak launch, there's like people like this, like literally I've had this happen before. They literally have their lawn chair in the middle of the kayak ramp. I just started backing in, and eventually they started to move.
Well, I will say this. 99% of the time when I launch, I'm launching before anybody else is going to even be there, so I don't have to worry about that.
Right.
But there is that issue on the recovery part when I come back and they literally like canvassed the bank. So I'll paddle up, and from a distance I'll be like, hey guys, y'all are actually fishing in a kayak launch, so can you guys let me know where you want me to work my way in, because I've got to pull in to get out, and that's my truck right there, or whatever. And they'll usually be pretty courteous about it. But I for the most part, if you launch early, you don't have to worry about those knuckleheads, clowns, or whatever. So.
I'm 5:30 a.m. before dark. I'm getting my kayak ready in the morning, so totally understand that. RJM Fishtail said, I had 2 older gentlemen the other day on the largest lake in South Carolina say you had to be in my spot. I said I got on the water at 5 a.m. and traveled 1 hour to get here, so find another spot. There we go. Bass Ackwards 13. I have bank anglers constantly picking up to move down the bank to reset right in front of me. Interesting. All right. Stephen Beaver said, kayaking on the Chesapeake, I had a big center console fly by me so close, it had to be intentional. Extremely dangerous. The water was cold and I almost capsized. Probably drunk. Man, these are like, there's all kinds of like videos left and right of people like risky situations, like getting clipped, getting hit. I've seen those videos before. And Brian, the creek crawler, he recently had one. He's up in Lake St. Clair, and the dock owner came out and said he owned 80 feet of the water because he had a dock that he was living on there. So
That's when you.
Interesting here.
That's when you say, "We'll call the sheriff and let's settle this."
Yeah, right.
I've got the right to fish here, and if you think your ownership of this spot supersedes my right to fish here, then we should get it resolved.
Yeah.
And man, when you are the one that initiates the let's call the police thing, they shut up. They just do.
Yeah, there you are. So if you're looking for how to respond, I think Chad said some really great things 100% earlier. But also if you initiate the police, because that's usually where they're going to go to, right? I'm going to, they're going to threaten violence. Oh, we're going to call the police. Like, let's do it.
Yeah, just beat them to it. That's
Yeah.
90% of the way that you can diffuse a situation is take their threat.
All right.
Another good one that I've been using is I made these sticks. It's like a broom handle, and you go to the end of the stick and nail in a finish nail, and you take dikes or diagonal cutters and cut the head part off. That way, when you stick it in trash, the finish nail grabs the trash, and then you put it in a bag.
Oh, there you go.
Take an extra couple of sticks with you, and when you go to a boat ramp and there's a bunch of people sitting there with trash everywhere, walk up and hand them a stick and a bag and say, "Hey guys, I clean this thing up about once a week. Can you guys give me a hand?" And then they go, sure. And then you get 3 or 4 extra people to help you pick up the trash, and then they're less likely to put trash back if they know that some dude's going to come by asking them to help pick it up.
Fishing with Gramp says, I must be the worst YouTuber ever. Never had a single incident. Never gonna have the cops called video. Sorry, Gramps.
You got to stop fishing private lakes on a bait, and then maybe some of that stuff will happen. You got to. None of the riffraff is going to get through the front gate of the private water you're fishing. You don't have that issue, knucklehead.
Josh Lanham says, hey, JT, you want me to go fish in front of you? You guys can kind of manufacture your own video so it can go viral. So there you go. Answered. Solution for you. So, Chad, tell me what should we expect? We're over our hour here. Tell me what we should expect from kayak bass fishing coming up from you, your YouTube channel, any new things coming down the pike?
Yeah, man. I've been inspired by a lot of knuckleheads like you to do this content that's valuable. Like I was about to do a video on the top 3 things for summer safety. And I bounced the idea off of another YouTuber who's like, well, Wendell just did a video on that and he covered that, but he did 11 things and your 3 things are in his 11. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went and watched the video. I was like, damn it. So I'm going to do a video called the top 10 things that I like about the top 47 things that Wendell says he hates about kayak fishing. Right. And I'm just going to do a better job of using my platform for education.
Yeah.
And doing it like you do it, right? Which is like, and I've done it some, but I haven't done it consistently enough. For example, the way I found Jay, Bearded Dad, was through his video, top 7 kayaks for big dudes.
Right.
Well, I had done that video myself. And in my brain, it's like, well, I did that video. I went back and watched my video.
Mm-hmm.
And my video was so old that none of those kayaks even existed anymore. His kayak was more relevant. So the thing that I'm doing a better job of these days is keeping a note on my phone. And the questions that people ask in the comment section are the things that I'm turning into videos.
Right.
Because if they have that question, there's probably 3,000 other people that have that question. So I'm doing a better job of that. I'm trying to clean up the quality of our videos with my son, Austin, being on board. We're starting to do like YouTube planning meetings. And like I texted you either yesterday or today that was like, hey man, your thumbnail game is strong. And so I'm going to focus a lot more effort on the thumbnails. To be honest with you, I usually grab the video, slide it to a spot in the video, screenshot it, juice it up a little bit, throw some text on it. But I'm going to start planning my thumbnails, doing the work to Photoshop them, to create better, because that leads to a better click-through rate. That leads to a better engagement, and that rising tide raises all ships. But I'm also going to start doing a video roundup where I say, hey, listen, guys, here's 3 great kayak fishing videos y'all should watch this week. This one from Wendell, this one from Jay, this one from so-and-so, this one from who, because there's no reason for us to compete with each other to to regurgitate the same information unless there's something that you can add to it. And in a lot of cases, I watch people's videos who are quote unquote experts on kayak fishing, and I like 85% of what they say. And then they maybe say one thing that's like wrong. And then I don't want to crap on the whole video, but I think I'm going to start doing videos where I react to some of these videos and say, hey, listen, guys, check out this new video from Wendell where he pretty much nailed it, except for this one thing that he said, which was totally wrong. Stay tuned to watch to the end of the video where I tell you what that was, right? If that makes sense. There's a guy out of Texas, does really good videos on kayak fishing.
Yeah.
One of his videos, he talks about the wader thing, where it's like, don't wear waders, you're going to die. First of all, he's fishing in a flat where it's like so deep. Unless you laid down and held your head under the water, that's the only way you're going to drown in that kind of fishing. But secondly, myself and Jim Salmons and other people have dispelled this wader myth. But the problem is it's been so long since we did it.
Yeah.
We need to do it again. The deepwater reentry video that I did, 250,000 views, lots of comments, lots of engagement. I had done that video 8 years before that. So what I've got planned is to do more content that's educational more frequently so that it stays relevant and it keeps people informed on what they need to know about kayak fishing. I'm also converting my scrape analogy, stability, comfort, riggability, reliability, affordability, performance, and everything else into individual videos, talking about each one of those things. I did stability last week. We'll be doing comfort relatively soon, and then I'll link them all together in a playlist because I compiled information from running one of the biggest and best retail shops in the country for 5 years, interviews with other shop owners, data from the Outdoor Alliance, data from Leisure Sales, and data from just interviewing lots of shop owners about what are the factors that anglers ask the most, that customers ask the most. And that's how I actually come up with that, an acronym. And it literally is in order. Stability. It's the first thing that anglers, how stable is it? How comfortable is it? What does it come with?
Right.
How much does it cost? Well, is it fast? Is it, this, that? And then the other stuff, the everything else comes in after that. So it just so happened that it turned into an acronym that spells something, scrape. But I really want to delve into those topics so that people understand. Like, I'll give you one little nugget for the comfort video. A kayak that you can stand in with a crappy seat is more comfortable than a kayak you can't stand in with a luxury seat. Because no matter how comfortable a seat is, it's not as comfortable as being able to stand up every 45 minutes to an hour and stretch your legs.
Right.
I don't care how comfortable the seat is. Now, if you can have a comfortable seat and you can stand, you can be out there indefinitely. You know what I'm saying? If I could carry enough stuff on my kayak, I'd never have to leave. Because with the combination of being able to stand and being able to have a comfortable seat, I could stay out there forever. And I'm old, So that's a real big focus of mine. And then, it's no secret that I've hit a rough patch with the divorce and some financial stuff. I'm digging out of that hole. I'm turning the corner. We'll have everything cleaned up in about the next month. The next 2 weeks is getting really good. Real strong partnerships. Went to ICast and everybody was ecstatic. I don't know that if I've announced this anywhere else publicly, but I am now.
I'll bring it.
I am now 100% my own production company. So love Heliconia Press to death. Had a great run with those guys. Basically, with what I was doing and what Austin was doing, the president of the company was the one that said, dude, you don't really need us anymore. You should just do this project yourself. And so that has allowed us the ability to raise the quality of the content, is because my son works with me full time now. He is a unbelievable videographer. He's got the eye. He's an unbelievable photographer. And so we're just going to work hard on raising not only the quantity of content that we put out, but the quality of it.
Right.
And so that's really what I've got moving forward. And then I'm also going to focus more on the fun stuff, like the smallmouth challenge that we're doing, the Knucklehead series, evolving that, and a lot less on these national trail series events that the market's really saturated with right now. And so I've got a lot of brand partners that want to do branded challenges and product giveaways and things like that. And so creating a fun challenge that you can do while you're already fishing anyway is really kind of, I'm not going to stop doing the trail. I'm not going to stop doing the national championship. I'm just going to scale it down, try to perfect that model, but really switch our focus more to the challenges. And it's funny, that's where we started. We did that for like 8 years before we ever did a live event.
All right.
Or 6 years. And so just kind of getting back to the fun stuff, man, and not being burnt out and not killing ourselves so that we can focus more on what we really love, which is storytelling, getting people motivated, getting people inspired, saving people time, effort, energy, money, and more importantly, frustration. Because if you get frustrated, you get out. I can't tell you how many times I see people get mad and quit kayak fishing. And it's like something simple that they could have fixed and it would have changed their entire experience, you know?
Right. Like I create videos like that all the time. It's like I'm creating this video to help educate you so you don't end up buying a kayak that frustrates you so you never kayak fish again. Like there's so many of those preemptive videos that I think are incredibly helpful. I know they are because people reach out all the time and let you know that. And so that's where I like to spend a lot of my time right now. But man, I'm glad to hear that because, you know, for me, and I would like to say a lot of those who are part of the Wendell fishing community, like all that stuff up there, the trail series, the hammers, it's exciting, but that's not my personal, like, I don't get too excited about it. I love the knucklehead, right? I'm out fishing anyways. And for $15, I can really see kind of how good am I, right? Let's see kind of where, am I really bad? Do I have a YouTube channel? I actually really suck, or can I compete? I just kind of want to see where I'm at. And it's been fun. You know, I'm getting texts from people who I'm fishing against. Some of the people who are winning the tournament are like my friends who I fish with. And so that is probably as high as I'll go when it comes to tournament. Who knows?
I kind of like what you did though. What you did had maybe not an unintended consequence for me. What you actually did is you let your teammates know that you can fish and that they're not jumping onto the team with the knucklehead who can't fish and end up going down to Alabama and having to carry you, if that makes sense, right? Right. So that was good. But back to the content thing, you know, I'll be honest with you, man. When I started watching a couple of your videos, I was like, damn, like he said, I should have said that. And I watched another video. And then there was a couple of things that you said where you were just kind of like, I'm not going to say you were crapping on a product, but you were basically saying, this thing's useless. Don't waste your money on it. And I was like, yes, I should say that too. But it wasn't my style or my brand or whatever, because I had gotten so sucked into the world of promoting the brands and companies I was sponsored by that I didn't have the bandwidth or the time to, you know, waste time talking about something that wasn't, you know, part of how I made a living. And so I transitioned away from that about 3 years ago. And I think that's what started leading me to be algorithmically linked to more content like yours and Jay's and, you know, aggressively average guys. And that's the stuff that we need to all create. JT from Kayak USA, right. His little build projects and his little rigging setups. And that's the community that I wanted to cultivate with the knucklehead thing. And I did have a couple of people reach out to me. So if you got, you know, one more minute, I want to say this. Yeah, why do you have Clay Guida? Why did you have John Cruz? Why did you have these guys? They're not kayak fishermen. And the idea behind that was to use these guys with a bigger following and to use these guys with a following in the fishing vertical that wasn't kayak fishing to bring over some more eyeballs and to expose more people to that and to show that a guy like John Cruz is a absolute hammer. But how's he going to do when he has to come down here and jump in a kayak and fish alongside the rest of us knuckleheads, right? Right. How is this guy going to do if he has to fish against us, you know? And so to me, that was the idea behind it. It's kind of evolved where the two guys that weren't kayak fishermen for various reasons have had to drop out. So now we're down to a pretty much everybody that's in it's a kayak fisherman. So It's going to be interesting, you know? Yeah. And it's going to be fun. We're hitting a premium fishery at the right time, under the right conditions, with the right people. We're going to have an awesome social experience, you know, where everybody gets together and hangs out and tells stories. And I'm going to have you knuckleheads all do seminars, you know, to make it worth people coming that aren't necessarily great competitors or don't care about competing. and it's just going to be like a, you know, a family reunion is what I would really hope it would become, an annual deal. And the reason that we put it on Veterans Day is, you know, that's a day that's near and dear to my heart because every year around Memorial Day, I'm in a funk. I get away. I don't talk to people because Memorial Day is the day that I take to grieve the people that I lost. And I know a lot of people who didn't serve, they think of Veterans Day and Memorial Day is kind of the same two things. Memorial Day is a memorial. It means you're celebrating those who died. Veterans Day to me is the day you celebrate and appreciate those who served and are serving, right? That's a different creature. And to me, that's the day that I'm proud of it. That's not the day that I'm somber. And I want to really use my platform moving forward for good. I want to use my platform to raise awareness, to raise money, to provide opportunities. And there's a symbolic nature of having it on Veterans Day when we already are in that mindset and we can bring people together to break bread. And then what I'd love to have happen down the road is that we create a pilgrimage of veterans that come to this area who need help, and they see these guys like yourself and all the other influencers out there that are living their life to the fullest and realize we're just average dudes who put a disproportionate amount of time into creating a passion project that turned a hobby into a profession. People always think I'm getting rich doing this. I'm broke right now, just flat out. I'm living in a camper. Now, granted, I wasn't broke. I was very successful before the divorce. I was what you would consider like a, you know, the American success story. Now I get to do it again. I get to show that I can, not only can I do it, but I can do it again. And if you're good enough to do it once, you're good enough to do it again. And when I say what I mean by good enough is if you have enough confidence in yourself to say, I can do this. You know, I hear these celebrities say, you could be anything you want to if you set your mind to it. I think that's absolute bullshit. First of all, I couldn't be a runway model and I couldn't be a singer. I'm not just going to develop a great singing voice, right? But I could be something great. And I chose to be great at this: storytelling, inspiring, creating content, building a community. And I got my eye off of that prize for a little while, and now I'm double down and refocused on it. And it took hitting rock bottom for that to happen. And so that's been a very humbling experience, a very refocusing experience. I have a journal over here with like notes upon notes upon notes of what are the mistakes that I made that I'm going to eliminate? What is the future that I want for myself? And I believe firmly in visualization. I believe firmly in, you know, if you can see it, you can be it. And if you can see something and you see yourself having already accomplished it, everything between you and that goal is roadblocks that you just got to push through. And if you give up because it gets tough, you never wanted it. And I say this one thing to people that call me that say, man, I want to do what you did. And I go, cool. What do you do? They tell me, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to do what you do. Okay. Are you willing to give up everything you got? What do you mean? Well, no, I kind of want to work it on the side until I get there. And then I want to make the plunge. Oh, okay. So you want to be uber successful at two things and then pick the one thing after the fact. I can't help you with that because that's not how I did it. I was an officer in the Navy. I had busted my butt to get there. I had went to college at night on weekends during lunches. I had scratched, bought, kicked, bite, did clawed my way to get that. Got commissioned, was making just to the point where I was making really good money. And I walked away from that shit to live in a shop. Me and my son pretty much lived in that shop for about a year and a half. Then we got a little apartment, and then we got a little rental house. But for 4 years, I made less money than I paid in taxes before that. I want to make that point one more time. For 4 years, I made less money than I paid in taxes the year before that. So if you aren't willing to risk everything you've got, you'll never have everything you want. I don't care what guru tells you anywhere different, what motivational book you read, what YouTube video you watch, what Joe Rogan podcast segment with somebody that came in. I don't care what anybody tells you. The only way to truly be successful at whatever your passion is to do right what your podcast name says. Obsessed. You have to be obsessed with it. I don't care what. I'm going to get off of here and work 4 more hours, 3 more hours at a minimum. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I don't post my Jocko, screenshot of my watch, but my alarm is at 4:30, and 90% of the time I don't wake up to my alarm. I wake up before my alarm. So I appreciate guys like you that I know, because I do it as well, I can look at what you do and see how much work goes into it. Right. And I appreciate the grind because I know that you're also working a real job, a regular job, whatever the hell people want to call it. This is a real job. Trust me.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're all in, I'm not trying to hijack the podcast here, but I'll tell you this straight up. I am proud of the fact that where I'm at right now, 95, 96, 97, maybe even 98% of people would have quit. With what I went through with the divorce, with what I went through with the financial woes, with what I went through with the egg on my face publicly, the thing I'm the most proud of is that I haven't quit. And I don't give a crap what people tell you. Until you quit, you haven't failed. So I haven't failed because I haven't quit, and I'm not going to fail because I don't quit. This isn't a conceited thing. This isn't a ego thing. This is I wish more people thought this way thing, because way too many people give up before the breakthrough. Give up before they get the confidence to know that they can do it. Give up before they get to I talked to a YouTuber 2 days ago, and I said, how much do you make on YouTube? He said, 1,000. You make 1,000 a month. I can't live off of that. I said, cool. How much did you make 6 months ago? He's like, 1,000. How much did you make before that? He said 1,000. I said, how long have you been making 1,000? He said, for about 4 years.
Whoa.
I said, okay. So do you know the Einstein's definition of insanity? Like doing this over and over again.
Same results.
And all that. But like, if you made 1,000, can't you make 4?
Right.
He's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, if you do 4 times what you're doing, shouldn't you make 4,000? Well, yeah, but I don't got time for that. Why? Well, because I have this. Okay, cool. Then that's your thing. This is your side chick. But if you want this to be your main thing, the main thing's got to be the main thing. I resigned from the Navy, gave up a commission, gave up a promotion, and made less than I paid in taxes for 4 years. But in my brain, I knew where I was going to go, and I knew what steps I had to do to get there. And it didn't matter how long it took. And then, just being real with you, I quote unquote got there. I lost sight of it. I lost my wife. I lost my life. I lost equity. I lost savings. I lost all those things that I had built up. But if I don't take my own advice, like I told that guy, well, if you made 1, can't you make 4? Then I'm full of shit. So I'm taking my own advice now. I'm strategizing. I'm grinding. I'm working. I took over and separated from my production company so I could do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
While everybody else would have safetied up in that situation and hung on to the one like comfortable, stable thing, I doubled down on me. Because if you don't believe in you, who the hell else is going to?
Right.
No,
I hear you.
Man, I love you. I appreciate what you do. I reached out to you a long time before we did anything together and just said, love your content, bro. Keep doing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I truly and genuinely root for the success of people who are doing things for the right reason. And, I honestly, I wasn't a guy that was doing it for the right reason for about 3 years. I was pulled in 100 directions. I was overwhelmed with sponsorships. I was dog paddling up a waterfall, and I had created this big thing that I was in and wasn't happy. And how do you look around and say, you worked your ass off for 10 years to get somewhere, and then when you got there, you're like, this sucks. Like well, the way you do it is you say, what sucks?
Right.
Stop doing that. Okay, what do you like? Start doing more of that. It really is simple when you just break it down use your common sense, your gut, willpower, and work ethic.
Right.
If you got those 4 things, you could be successful at anything. I'm not going to be a fitness model, and I ain't going to be a singer, but I can be the best me I can be.
Right on.
And so can you.
Right. I got some comments here for you, Chad, from Bass Backwards 13. Says, Chad puts it all out there, ever improving himself. I'm going through some stuff myself, and it's refreshing to see someone else sharing that stuff. So if you ever second guess whether or not to post something,
And dude, and that is the exact reason I do it.
Yeah.
All of my inner circle, 100% of my inner circle and 100% of my mentors are like, stop doing that. You have to maintain this facade of this thing. And I'm like, no, I don't. My gut says share it because it might help somebody. Just like a tip about reusing plastics to save $3 on Cinco's. It's the same. And if you can't get your mind right, you can't catch fish. Because if you're preoccupied the whole time you're fishing and you're not concentrating and you're not confident, you're not going to catch fish. You're going through the motions. And I didn't catch 10-pound bass for 5 years. Caught one in 5 years when I'd never caught less than 10 for 10 years. And well, guess what? I'm doubling down now. I ain't catching 10 yet, but I'm catching a buttload of ones that are knocking on the door. And so I just know it's a matter of working a little bit harder, trying a little bit harder, digging a little deeper, and it's going to happen. And it's like the Einstein definition. I got soft. I was always using boat ramps. I was always using, the easy to get to spots. Oh, shit. I'm dragging through the woods again. I'm muddy up to my knees. I'm doing the stuff that gets you to where the giants live. And guess what? They didn't go anywhere. I'm catching giants again.
Yep.
And I'm going to share that with the world. But I'm also going to share with you when I fish my ass off for 3 days and don't catch anything, because it's disingenuous to act. It's disingenuous to act like every time you go fishing, you're going to hammer them and paint this facade that lets other people feel disappointed when they don't go out there and go, man, I take what Chad says or, what Darren says or what so-and-so says, and I don't catch anywhere near the number of fish that they do. Yeah, we don't show everything, but I'm trying to show a hell of a lot more of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, but people don't realize, the fish that I put up, at least, I'm up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before work at 5 a.m. fishing till 8:15 and get myself home and get to work. That's how I'm putting numbers on the board. And so it's not like I'm doing this just on the weekends. I'm putting in the work. I am tired when I wake up in the morning. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say, for me, for the normal fisherman to get up at 5:30 a.m. to go fishing, I've heard people say, I hate when YouTubers say it's work. For us, it's part fun, and sometimes it's part work. I'm out there, I'm going to fish for an hour, and then I got to turn around and not fish and shoot a video on the water. I like them both, but I actually, you're sitting here having my pole in hand. You're not focused on fishing because you're putting up a video. But I'm just telling you, it's work, and I'm catching a lot of big fish lately, but I'm also putting on 5x more time on the water than I typically have because I'm taking advantage of the early sunrises. So it is.
Let me give you a quick analogy of a schedule last week. Up at 3:45, drove an hour to get there at 4:45 to be on the water at 5:15 to get there before the sunrise.
Oh yeah.
3 days in a row, did that, and then fished until 2 to 5, depending on the day. Get off the water. Takes an hour to get off the water. Takes an hour to get home. Getting home at 6:37. Do dinner, charge batteries, download footage, get in the bed, 9 o'clock, back up at 3:30. Yep. Rinse, lather, repeat. Roll into last week, the last part of the week. Have a guided trip with a father and son. Tell them, hey, listen, the night bite's better. We could go out there when it's hot, but the night bite's better. They were adventurous enough to give it a try for the night bite. We got on the water at 5:30. We got off the water at 2:30 in the morning. Wow. Everybody caught fish on topwater frogs. Everybody got a blow up on fish bigger than they caught. Everybody got that, oh my God moment. And they knew that the fish were there, that neither of them connected with an absolute monster, but they got good quality fish. I caught 3 fish over 6 pounds, and they were excited to see the fish. I wasn't going to fish. They're like, no, man, please fish. We want you to fish. And I was like, okay. So then I started catching fish. And what I realized, though, is me catching the fish kind of was infectious into firing them up so that they didn't quit. And then finally the sun started getting cold and miserable and tired and was gritty. And, it was late. And, they decided to call it. And then the next morning, I was up at 5:30, got home at 3:30, was up at 5:30 and back on the phone and doing it. So yes, it's a grind. And if you don't think it's work, come hang out with me in Alabama for a week. And if you tell me this ain't work, I'll give you my job.
Well, Chad, thank you so much. I got to have you on again in the future. If you have not yet done this for whatever reason, not sure, but head over to Chad's channel. If you hadn't hit that sub button, help us out. Hit that sub button. Give this show a like. Get a little bit more replay out of it. And next week, I got Gramps, aka Steve Harvey, on next week. Give him a hard time today because he announced the wrong winner on his Knucklehead Challenge. But I do have to thank him because he helped remind you, Chad, that you actually had a show tonight. And so
he did.
Thank you, Gramps.
We were fixing the angler who didn't have the leaderboard selected, and he's like, "Well, by the way, good luck on your live tonight." And I said, "What live tonight?" He said, "Aren't you on with Wendell tonight?" I said, "Am I?" And I looked at my phone. I didn't have an alarm set. I didn't have a calendar date. I was like, "Oh crap!" And I texted you. You're like, "Yep." And I was like, "Okay." And I headed back home. So yeah.
I love Gramps. So he'll be on next week.
I was literally about to unload my kayak on Wheeler to go night fishing for bass in Wheeler National Wildlife Refuge, where nobody wants to go at night because it's full of gators. But I was going to go catch a toad. And thanks, Gramps. Otherwise, you would have called me and been like, "Hey, where you at?" I'm like, fishing.
Fishing. Well, thank you for giving up fishing, for being on the show tonight. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. And thank you, everybody. See you next Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Have a good one.
Sounds good, man.